Francis's trip to Cairo, capital of Egypt, pictures of his visit to Cairo and the testimony of a local Franciscan friar. An Italian-Palestinian family in Bethlehem taught Pope Francis how to make the sign of the cross in Arabic on the eve of his trip to Egypt. The ministries are different, but there is only one Lord. St. Paul's message came to life on the day dedicated to the religious and consecrated people. Ibrahim Ben Elian, an Armenian man from Jerusalem, has a special passion. He collects historical photos of the Holy City that he shares with the whole world. A Palestinian composer and musician, she is one of the founders of the musical institutes in the West Bank and spokeswoman for human rights. As a pilgrim of peace, Pope Francis traveled to Egypt, where 2,000 years ago the Holy Family found shelter. A land of martyrs and saints, but recently also a target of terrorist attacks, Pope Francis brought consolation and encouragement to the Christian victims. Live from Egypt, Father Mamdouh talked about this apostolic mission of Pope Francis.
La presenza cristiana in Egitto è maggiormente copta.
The Christian presence in Egypt is mostly Coptic, and when I use the term Coptic, I am referring to Orthodox Copts, those who were once called Monophysite Copts. Now the term Monophysite has fallen into disuse. The term Orthodox is more common. The Orthodox Copts are in communion with the Patriarch of the Alexandrian Seat. They are not in communion with the seat of Rome. Instead, the Copts that are in communion with the Church of Rome bear the name of Catholic Copts. The latter presided over the reception of the Holy Father in Egypt.
Che porta il nome di Copti cattolici, quelli che ultimamente hanno presieduto l'accoglienza del Santo Padre venuto in visita in Egitto.
The itinerary includes political encounters such as that with President al-Sisi, but also interreligious meetings with the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, Ahmed al-Taib, with the Coptic Orthodox Patriarch Tawadros II, with the Coptic Catholic Patriarch Ibrahim, and with the Patriarch of Constantinople Bartholomew I. The most intense moments of the trip were the International Peace Conference, the signing of the joint declaration between Pope Francis and Tawadros II, and finally the Mass at the Air Force Stadium in Cairo, in which more than 25,000 people participated.
Sicuramente la messa celebrata allo stadio dell'aeronautica egiziana è stato il momento
Certainly, the Mass celebrated at the Egyptian Air Force Stadium was the happiest, the most intense, the most anticipated, and most popular, the most crowded event that the country witnessed during the 36 hours that the Holy Father spent in Egypt. I must say that because of the Holy Father, the stadium turned into an open-air church. Try to imagine this. We are a predominantly Islamic country. When 2 or 3 people gather in a house for prayer in Upper Egypt, especially in Upper Egypt, someone usually disrupts the meeting, or the people even get kicked out of the neighborhood because they prayed Christ in their churches. We are talking about not 25, but 25,000 people in one stadium. This is a miracle. It is a great miracle.
Persone sono radunate in una casa per celebrare un momento di preghiera insieme in Alto Egitto, soprattutto in Alto Egitto, trovano qualcheduno a disturbarli e addirittura arrivano a essere cacciati dal quartiere perché hanno pregato al Cristo nella loro chiesa.
A great trip not only for Egypt, but for the entire Middle East.
Miss Aldunya, l'Egitto è la madre dell'universo.
How do you make the sign of the cross in Arabic? Pope Francis could have used a tutor before traveling to Egypt. Providence was generous and gave him 2 teachers, the Italian-Palestinian twins from Bethlehem, Leah and Antonio.
stata una grandissima emozione salutarlo personalmente con I bambini, con Antonio e Lea.
Meeting with him and the children, Antonio and Leah, was exciting, and what he said was interesting. He encouraged us to work with the diocese in the parishes and to be a happy and cheerful gospel presence in our daily mission.
Allegra, come il termine che usa lui, allegra appunto nella nostra missione quotidiana.
Sono cattolico.
Vincenzo's family was chosen to represent the Holy Land along with Archbishop Bulos Marcuso, vicar of the Latin Patriarchate for Israel, at the Second International Congress of Catholic Action. Over 300 participants from 52 different countries met in the Vatican's Synod Hall on May 27th, on the eve of the Holy Father's trip to Egypt.
Noi viviamo in un posto che è un posto complicato, perché parliamo di Betlemme, parliamo di Terra Santa, parliamo di territori palestinesi.
We live in a complicated place, Bethlehem, the Holy Land, the Palestinian territories. We are called to bear witness not to a new, but to an ancient challenge. The great thing about attending this conference is that there are so many men and women here who are not politicians and who dedicate their lives to the parishes, working with God's people. This variety of people and talents therefore enrich all of us and our faith.
Noi, per la nostra fede.
The colors and patterns of the vestures of the consecrated men and women in the Holy Land are different, but they form a mosaic that expresses well what St. Paul says in the letter to the Corinthians. The ministries are different, but there is only one Lord. With this spirit of sharing abundance of talents, Monsignor José Rodriguez Carballo, Secretary of the Congregation of the Consecrated Life Institutes and for the Apostolic Life Societies, met with religious men and women and with the consecrated people on Wednesday, May 3 at the Notre Dame Pontifical Institute of Jerusalem. In the initial greeting by Father Jean-Daniel Gulung and Sister Bruna Fasson, the gratitude for the opportunity to hold such a meeting resounded. The event was divided into two parts. The first one was characterized by various testimonies centered on the education of children, the accompaniment of end-stage sufferers, the hospitality offered to disadvantaged people, the visits paid to prisoners, and the attention to migrants and refugees. The second part was represented by Bishop Carballo's conference.
Mi viene in mente immediatamente un testo del Vangelo.
A gospel passage immediately comes to mind. Get up and walk. And this is the message that I want to emphasize for the consecrated life in the Holy Land. Get up and walk. We are travelers, seekers of God's face. I also want to say to the consecrated ones, be prophets in this land. This can be achieved first of all by living community life, so that we can prove to the Arabs, the Israelis, and many others who come here that it is possible to live together in spite of our differences.
Arabi, israeliani, tanti altri che vengono a queste terre, che è possibile vivere insieme anche se uno è diverso.
Several members of the ecclesial movements, ecumenical fraternities, and new families of consecrated life were present at the meeting, bringing the novelty of the Spirit to the Church.
La Terra Santa è una terra che gode della presenza.
The Holy Land is a land that enjoys the presence of a truly remarkable charismatic variety. It is a gift to the Church of Jerusalem, a presence that manifests itself also and above all through vitality, through the novelty that the Spirit brings to this land. This novelty and variety reinvigorate the mission of the Church and continually inspires a new expression of it. I believe this is very important.
Della Chiesa, che dà vitalità alla missione della Chiesa. Questo mi sembra molto importante.
The words of Bishop Carballo describe a variegated mosaic that expresses the treasure the Church possesses in the consecrated life in the Holy Land.
Oggi sono contentissimo di aver ascoltato.
Stay on the frontiers. Get out. We need less referentiality and more mission, especially in the suburbs. I am delighted to have heard 5 testimonies of consecrated life today in the suburbs. These are our suburbs, so let's stay on the borders, always bearing the love of Christ. Because our neighbor, especially if he is poor, as Pope Francis often reminds us, is the flesh of Christ. When we embrace the poor, we are embracing Christ. I remember St. Francis embracing the leper at the beginning of his conversion. That embrace probably did not change the life of the leper, but it did change Francis's heart. Look forward to hope and experience the frontiers or the suburbs of human life. At the end of the meeting, Vespers were recited under the guidance of Archbishop Giuseppe Lazzarato, Apostolic Nuncio to Israel and Apostolic Delegate for Jerusalem and Palestine.
Grazie.
Thanks. To all the consecrated, a hug of peace and blessings, a paschal embrace to all of you, and goodbye. From an early age, Ibrahim Benelian, an Armenian man from the old city of Jerusalem, has been collecting photographs that tell the history of the city through the centuries. He shares the rare images he possesses through his Facebook page called Apo Documentaries, to which he dedicates his time and energy. An old Arabic proverb says, "Whoever neglects his past is lost." The art of photography here in the city dates back to the middle of the 18th century. It was the Armenians who introduced it. The first school was opened by an Armenian religious in 1850. Through this passion, Benelian managed to find and catalog rare photographs of the city of Jerusalem in his own personal archive. He chose to share these unique pictures with everyone. I post my photographs on my Facebook page using a well-defined criteria. All the images have the same frame. They have my Apo Documentaries logo, and they all have a watermark. I do this to protect my work. From the British to the Ottoman Mandate, in addition to the most recent visit of Paul VI to Jerusalem, and to the daily lives of the inhabitants of the Old City, each photo narrates a particular moment or event. And thanks to the many testimonies of seniors and photographers, Benelian is also able to describe the events that took place in the Holy City.
هذا الشخص بكون اسمه أرتين بنليان. هذا أبوه لسيدي.
This is Artin Benelian. He is my grandfather's father. I found this photo by accident. It tells us of the suffering of the Armenian people following the genocide. Here, on the other hand, we have a photo of a few members of the Catholic Scout group as they go to the Damascus Gate through the souk to welcome His Holiness Pope Paul VI in 1964 during his historic visit to the Holy Land.
كانت له أول زيارة تاريخية للأرض المقدسة.
The world of Rima Tarazi is made of music. The 85-year-old Palestinian pianist and composer is also a passionate educator and spokeswoman for human rights.
Playing music has never felt like a job because it is a passion of mine. I was not a professional musician, but I spent all my life immersed in music. Since my very first piano lessons at Beazirt School with Master Salvador Arnita, I started composing music early in life, even before I graduated.
كل اللي كتبته.
Although all that I have written cannot be defined as national music, but an expression of my personal feelings of sorrow, later I also added the lyrics, I've always been very close to my land.
Rima Tarazi has composed dozens of pieces as well as music for various works of leading Palestinian poets, such as Mahmoud Darwish, Sami al-Qasim, or Fadwa Tuwan. During her artistic career, she has always had an interest in education to such an extent that she has been one of the founders of the first music institutes in Palestine.
أنا عندي رسالة دائما بحكي فيها وبحاول.
The message I always want to convey and try to propagate in society, especially in the school environment, is that music is an unmatched educational tool. It has a special trait because it teaches people to work together, to team up.
لأنه بتعلم عمل الفريق الواحد.
Everything started because of her love for classical music, which then extended to composition, hymns, prayers, and other social and non-social themes. Through her work, Rima seeks to inspire hope and decision in all those who listen to her music.
لما تكوني حزنانة.
When I am sad or angry, I am headed to the piano. When I am happy, I prefer to spend time with my grandchildren. My music always expresses humanity values, hope and pain, because I have hope inside me.
ألم دائما في أمل في الآخر.
The mission of the Christian Media Center is to bring the message of the Holy Land, the land of the fifth gospel, to the world. Broadcasts, reports, news, documentaries, the latest happenings in the church and of the daily life of Christians in the Holy Land. You can help us in this mission, raising awareness and spreading the message of the Holy Land. Help us. Visit our website,